Welcome back to the SEN WA studio out here at Optus Stadium. It's a big weekend for the Western Force this weekend. The club, or the Super Rugby franchise, celebrates its 20th anniversary. They play the Brumbies at HBF Park. It's a massive game in the context of their season as well. Someone who was there at the very beginning, Matt Hodgson. He's still the Western Force Director of Strategic Projects. He was also there, I believe, in their very first game against the Brumbies way back at Subiaco Oval all those years ago. Matt joins us on the show. Matt, welcome.
Good morning. How are you guys going?
Very well, thank you, mate. Tell us your memories. The first game v the Brumbies at Subi all those years ago.
It's obviously a special day in my sort of lifespan, but also for the club. I think we all came together sort of in November leading into the Super Rugby round one, and sort of came from all walks of life all around Australia, and sort of to bring it all together in the first game. I think a memory for me is driving up Rockaby Road and just seeing the amount of sea of blue and the number of kids and parents walking down the streets in the Western Force jerseys actually made it real, and it was quite exciting running out at Subi Oval in front of 40,000+ people.
I remember that night. I'd been to a golf day somewhere and went along and watched the game that evening. It felt like there was a big following for rugby in Perth then. What's it like now?
It's something that we're sort of building up again, sort of obviously after 2017 and the loss of the Western Force sort of put a dent in our momentum. So we sort of had to recoup and rebuild, and sort of over the last few years we've sort of done that and brought a playing group together that we're proud of, and really pushing for finals this year. So hopefully, again, when we play the Brumbies on the weekend, we get a big crowd as well.
So it's very hard to bring a team together from scratch. It's even harder to do it in what is a frontier state for your particular code or sport. What was it like that first season at Western Force, bringing a group of disparate players together and trying to unite as a force?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult, but it's sort of a bond that playing group over the first couple of years we'll never forget. I think, as you mentioned, coming from everywhere, it was quite exciting to sort of bring the group together and tour together, train together, and experience bringing a team together in Western Australia was pretty exciting, and the amount of support we had from fans, locals, corporates, it was made it all worthwhile, and a number of those players are still in Western Australia now, giving back to the community game, which is exciting.
Where were you training then? What was the training facilities, the training base? What was all that like then?
We were in Perry Lakes. We sort of had to dodge the asbestos in the gym and couldn't lift too heavy in case the building fell down. But we had quite a good rugby pitch there at Perry Lakes, so we quite enjoyed bunkering down and going at work each day. And like I said, we spent a lot of time together, so we often did cafes together, coffees together, and sort of all lived in the same area in Scarborough, so it was quite a close-knit group. But the training facilities were quite interesting at that time.
You mentioned 2017 and obviously the removal of the Western Force from the competition. Did you feel like it was all over then, or did you feel like there was still a pulse and there was a chance for the club to be resurrected?
It was definitely a difficult year for the club and the playing group and the staff group, and sort of living a whole 6 months with an unknown made it quite difficult to perform each day. But we always knew there was an underbelly, an undercurrent within WA that would keep the Western Force alive, and so it's just making sure we did everything we could during that time to sort of change the decision. And I think now we're in a much better position, obviously quite fortunate with our ownership structure through Andrew and Nicola Forrest, but we've learned a lot of what we should and shouldn't do, and sort of puts us in good stead into the next 10 years leading into World Cups in Perth.
Tell us about how the code is going sort of at grassroots level in WA at the moment. When I used to live in Claremont, it felt like there was a lot of work being done. You'd see sort of juniors down at Scotch College Oval, sort of like academy-style groups getting ready to play and getting ready to train. How do you think the code is performing at grassroots level in WA?
Yeah, obviously 2017 shocked us a fair bit, and we lost a number of participants and to other codes. But I think we've regrown over the last 5 years, and really built that up. And I think we're the only state over the last 3 years that's had continual growth at community level, which is great. And now it's about us focusing in our pathway system, putting a lot of resources and time in growing our local talent in both the male and female, which we're starting to see now with 3 players in the Aussie 20s, a number of local boys in the under 18s, and then also in the female space, majority are Super W, all homegrown talent. So yeah, we're actually seeing a bit of those young players come through now, and we've sort of got a great group in our under 18s in both male and female that should take the club forward.
So your title is Director of Strategic Projects. Matt, tell us what that entails, and tell us also what is in place for this weekend for the Brumbies game to mark that celebration of the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, pretty easy title for me is to make sure we put things in place so the club's around for a long time. And obviously a big one for us is a brand new home of rugby. With our sport growing, our academy space growing, our female space growing, we've outgrown where we are now. So it's working with government and different stakeholders to find a home of rugby for us. So that's the big project we're currently working on. But this weekend we've got over 60 past players and staff that were involved in the club over 20 years coming into Perth and be part of the match day celebration. Big firework display, number of activations on the field during the game, but also for us, a big local community junior drive. So every junior player actually gets the opportunity to come to the game with their parent for free this weekend. So we've had a big uptake in that. So it's about getting people into the ground to sort of celebrate the 20 years and hopefully a great performance by the Force and a victory to keep our final hopes alive.
What sort of sites are we looking at in terms of the possible site for sort of a centre of excellence or an elite training facility, given that you've outgrown where you are now? Where are you looking at?
Anywhere that has enough grass to hold a lot of rectangle fields, but also growth areas within WA. We're doing a lot of research in where the growing population is, but also where the growing rugby population is, and not going into just the traditional areas that we look at. But also areas where it's easy to get to from a public transport. One of our biggest issues and concern is players coming that are 16, 17, but not actually being able to get training because they're relying on mum and dad to drive. So it's got to be connected to train stations and bus pathways so we make it accessible for as many people as possible.
You mentioned keeping the finals hopes alive. You've slipped to 8th on the ladder now. How many games of the last 3 you've got? Obviously, there's the Brumbies and the Drua and the Waratahs. How many of those do you need to win, do you think, to get back into that top 6?
I think if, like for us, we pick 7 games to win for the year and you're guaranteed a final spot. So if we win all 3, then we're not waiting on other results. Obviously, difficult nature for us is having a last round bye. But if we pick up the 3 wins, which are all achievable after our performances at home this year, and obviously we match up well against Fiji. So if we win all 3, we can control our own destiny and more than likely we'll be in that top 6 come the end of the year.
On Thursday, we believe there'll be a big announcement for an NRL team in Perth, a resurrection of the old North Sydney Bears in some form. Probably the Bears will be in the name. It'll be either Perth Bears or WA Bears. How is that likely to affect rugby union, if at all, do you think, in the state? Is it a good thing because it brings more rugby interest? Is it a competitor for you? How will you view it?
It's a difficult one to answer, obviously, without knowing how that's going to be set up, where that's set up, and how the team wants to work with other teams within. But for me, to have more rectangle facilities within Western Australia is a positive. So we obviously have to work with them when they come. So it'd be sort of a wait and see how we go and work collegiately together.
Is there any chance there's talk that there will be a centre of excellence as part of the deal to bring them in out at Malaga? Is there any chance you would look at some sort of joint facility, talk to the state government about that and maybe get a base for the Western Force, a training base out there alongside them with a lot of rectangular fields in that vicinity?
We're having a number of discussions. It's probably a little bit early for us to speculate where and where we want to go. So we sort of just continue working with our internal stakeholders and government on that. and hopefully be able to move into something prior to the World Cup, or if not, our 2028 season.
Matt, this is, I guess, a question for you personally. You were there at the start. You're still there now. Why have you stuck around so long? Why are you such a strong believer in the Force?
It's a pretty simple one for me. I was the last person to get on the roster in '06, and probably didn't have a good lead-in coming off 3 major injuries. So the Western Force sort of backed me early on then, and sort of for me now, how do I repay them? And to see the growth of the sport, and now I've got 2 young kids playing the game. It's how do I give back to make sure there's a future for all those young kids, male and female, and striving to put a Western Force jersey on, because I have so many positive memories and friendships and connections from that opportunity that I was given. It's for me now to leave the place in where those juniors can have that same opportunity, and then grow the game locally.
Congratulations. I think the Western Force has been a great developer of the code in WA, and they certainly have tried to do the work at the bottom end as well as the top end. So congratulations on that. I hope it's a great occasion this week, and hopefully you get the win. Keep yourselves in that finals mix strongly, and well done on your personal service to the Western Force.
No, I appreciate it, and always appreciate your support. And like I said, hopefully see as many people in blue on Saturday night out at the game.
Good on you, Matt. Look forward to chatting to you again in the very near future.
No, thanks for the call. Bye.
Matty Hodgson. He is the Western Force Director of Strategic Projects, of course, also a pioneer playing member of the Western Force squad. And don't forget that big game against the Brumbies on Saturday night at HBF Park, a massive celebration for the Western Force, and hopefully a step towards a finals berth as well. We'll be back with more after the break.